Okay, I have the pleasure of introducing our guest and keynote presenter for today. It's none other than attorney Georgette Miller. For those of you who don't know, let me share a little about Georgette Miller before she makes her way to the front. Attorney Georgette Miller is actually an immigrant from Jamaica. She has all her degrees, you name it, she got it. She's actually somebody who walked away from a very lucrative practice in the law industry to start her own practice back in 2008. And to date, her law firm has helped almost 3,000 people live debt-free. She's also a radio personality. Many of you may know from listening to WLIB right here in New York, 1190 AM. But some of you may not know she's also on Faith 1510. She's also on Praise 103 in the Philadelphia market. And she also has her own TV show, The Georgette Miller Show. Those of you who don't know, please check out her show, The Georgette Miller Show. She's also principal founder of Georgette Miller Associates PC, and she's the author of the upcoming book. Most of you can see this book cover, Living Debt Free. It's actually what credit score fearmongers and debt peddlers don't want you to know, due out just in October. So please rise to your feet and give our keynote speaker and seminar facilitator for today a warm round of applause, attorney Georgette Miller.
It's not that deep, for real. It really ain't that serious. What is serious, though, is the fact that, just to expand upon what Mark told you. Now, we're in a church, and you all have to understand, I was born and raised in the church, or church, as they would say where I'm from. I was born and raised in Jamaica, came here when I was 19 to nothing and with, basically to no one, and was homeless. So I've seen the whole gamut. I know what it's like to not have food. I know what it's like to not have a way to lay my head. I know all that. I know y'all, there is not a story that I could stand here and tell you that you haven't heard, that I haven't lived. But growing up in Jamaica, there's this little church, my little church. I still send, monthly offerings to that church, Bethany Gospel Hall on Hagley Park Road in St. Andrew. And there was this phrase that never left me. And the phrase was this: what gaineth a man that gains the whole world, but loses his soul, right? As I stand here in front of you, as Mark alluded, when I left law firm practice, it was the 6th largest law firm in the country, right there in MetLife Building, right in Manhattan. I worked out of the New York City and Philadelphia office doing commercial real estate. And in 2008, when they were about to give me the golden handcuff, they were about to make me partner. Yes, sir. I looked at them and I said, I looked at the managing partner and I said, you know what, I think I'm done. Because I knew this wasn't, working for somebody was never for me. And I said, I'm done. And he said to me, Georgette, you know what you're leaving. You're about to become a partner in the 6th largest law firm in the country. What are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go start my own practice. He said, doing what? I said, I think I'm going to go out there and help people that look like me file bankruptcy. Lehman Brothers had just fell. The market had just crashed. And I knew a lot of people that looked like me was about to get hurt. And I said, look, I've been in commercial real estate for a really long time. When we set up transaction as a transactional lawyer, and say, for instance, my client bought a hotel, we would create a special company just to own that hotel. And if the hotel becomes non-performing, you just bankrupt that entity and move on. Bankruptcy is just a business tool, that's all it is. So when I told my managing partner, I'm going to go help people file bankruptcy. He said to me, Georgette, you leaving your job making good money to go work for people who ain't got no money? Have you lost your mind? But like I said, where I started is where you always end. I am, in my core, is merely this 19-year-old child that came to this country with nothing but a desire in her heart. This 19-year-old child that was raised in the church. So I knew that the good Lord never gives you a desire in your heart unless he's equipped you with everything you need to succeed. So you live your dreams. 4 years later, I have 4 offices in 4 states with attorneys and paralegals and administrative assistants working for me. Today, mortgage has never been late. I don't have a car note because I don't believe in them stuff, and we'll get into that. But if you hear anything, if you take away anything from me today, is the fact that you never let anybody define who you are. You never let anybody define what it is you can and cannot do. If you have a desire in your heart, and it's something that's laid on you, then you've equipped to succeed, to just live your dreams. Now that was my pep talk for the day. Now I'm going to get into the meats and potatoes of why I'm here. Those who have pen, get it. Those who have paper, take it out. Because now I'm taking y'all to school. And I'm not going to be nice about it, because life is just way too short. Y'all look like me. I think I'm among family. So I'm just going to talk. Rule 1. If you are in debt, you must get out by any legal means necessary. Any legal, you are a business. You are the CEO, COO, and CFO of your own lives. So you're going to treat your life like a business. Now, many of us in the 2008, with the recession, our money got funny. Right? Some of us lost a job. Some of us lost our overtime. Some of us, our spouses, lost a job, and you're still having a 2-income family home with a 2-income family expenses. And you want to keep this enterprise that is your life going. So now many of us in my country, they said, we hung our basket a little bit too high, then we could reach it. And now we're up on our tippy toes. Some of us can't even reach the basket at this point. What do? Bankruptcy is a business tool. That is all that it is. So forget what it is that they and them have told you in the past. I'm here to tell you as it is. Bankruptcy is called a fresh start under the law. And I'm in church, and pastor is here, so pastor can back me up. There is a book in the Old Testament called Deuteronomy. And there's a chapter called chapter 15. And then in chapter 15, there is verse 4 that talks about the year of Jubilee. In that year, in olden times, every 7 years, debtors had to be released from their debts. Bankruptcy is the same concept. It's only once every 8 years. So there's some of what breaks my heart is my clients come into my office, and they come in after they've run through their 401k, run through their pension, run through all their savings, and they come into my office when they broke. Not just broke. Once you go into your 401k and you take out that money early, you got to pay 40% penalty. 30 to the state, no, 30 to the feds, and an additional 10% to the state. So if you go and you hemorrhage your 401k and your pension $10,000, all you really got was $6,000. Because at the end of the year, you're going to have to pay back both. And your retirement is for your retirement. A story my father told me when I was a child. He said to me, Ava, the best young person that's going to take care of you in your old age is the young person you are today. No child, no grandchild is going to take care of you in your old age like you do today. Back to this foolishness called debt. Y'all come into my office after you've run through everything. There are some people that don't look like y'all. And again, I'm around family. They call my office as soon as their money gets funny. They use their last paycheck. If they're about to lose their job, they use their last paycheck and pay me. Why? They're not going into their 401k. They're not going into their 529. They're not going into their pension to pay nobody. Why? If you file a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, your retirement accounts, your pension accounts, everything that is of a retirement base is 100% protected. Therefore, I have filed bankruptcies for people that don't look like y'all, that have $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 sitting in their retirement, and they're rolling up and exercising their right. Y'all need it the most, and y'all sitting on your hands. So my question to you is, what is wrong with y'all? Bankruptcy is not just for GM, who filed a Chapter 11 in 2008, and today is the #1 car company in the world. It's for everybody. So if you are all in debt, first rule is you need to get out. Now, before I move on, I like to take a little time with this because y'all are the least educated, so I'm going to take a moment to educate you all. Stories you've been told, oh my God, bankruptcy is the worst thing I could do. They and them tell you that. You know, people come into my office, Miss Miller, they and them say. I say, who is they and them? My mama used to say to me, Ava, when you're going to take advice from someone, consider the source. Wow. They and them tell you, if I file bankruptcy, I can't do nothing for 10 years. I'm here today to tell you, you can file bankruptcy today and you qualify for an FHA mortgage. That's a mortgage backed by the full faith and credit of your federal government. 2.5 years later. So you could file bankruptcy today and go buy a house 2.5 years later. Some of y'all say, well, my FICO score. If y'all gonna play in this FICO score business, know the enemy. FICO stands for the Fair Isaacs Company. Before bankruptcy, y'all have income or the potential for income, but you have all this debt. So the thing that's called your debt to income ratio is real depressed because you have all this debt, but you have your income. So you walk into bankruptcy court, you exercise your right, you say, Your Honor, I haven't filed bankruptcy for the last 8 years, I'm here to get rid of it. He says, have you committed fraud? No. Have you filed bankruptcy in the last 8 years? No. Go with God. But just know you can't come back for 8 years. So you walk out of bankruptcy court, you still have your income, but you don't have any debt. So what do you think your DTI looks like now? So you still have the income, but you have no debt. That is why within 3 months, those who are interested in their FICO score go right back up. And within 18 months, you can be exactly where you were before you file. Think about it. I'm a bank, or I'm a landlord. Am I going to rent to you when you have all these people you owe? Am I going to lend you money with all these people you owe? But you come into me and you file bankruptcy and you have a judge saying you don't owe nobody nothing. I'm a lender. I think I'm going to be more likely to lend to you because now you have enough money to pay me back. And if I'm a landlord, I may take a little bit more security from you. But I also know that you don't owe nobody else anything. So now you can do what? Pay your rent. Understand the principles that will make a better financial future for you. Your life is merely a business. That is all that it is. I was sitting in bankruptcy court today, and the judge looked at my client and said, think with your head and not your heart. When you're looking at your life, think with your head. You're the CEO, and you're making the best business decisions so that your life will go forward. You think with your head always. So, y'all hear that you'll never do anything for 10 years. I've told you you qualify for a mortgage 2.5 years later. You all think that your FICO score, you can't do anything for 10 years. Your FICO score actually goes up within a year. Actually, within 3 months, they start sending you credit card applications again. 3 months. And I see people here shaking their head like they know. So I'm not telling you anything that I'm just pulling out of my you know what. Y'all know. 3 months later, they start sending you credit card applications. However, bankruptcy for me or getting out of debt is just step one. Now, there are two things I can't move on without talking about. You all have this craziness called debt consolidation and debt settlement. I have this thing with me. Why pay when you have the legal right to pay nothing? Why use your income and your cash to pay when you have the legal right to pay nothing? So y'all are in these crazy debt consolidation, $500 a month for 5 years. That's $30,000 in principle. And you had the legal right to pay nothing. What if you had paid them nothing, but paid yourselves $500 a month? Then there's this other thing that y'all do. I have an LLM in tax. I have more degrees than I care to talk about. You all do these crazy debt settlements and short sales and all this stuff. You owe Bank of America $10,000. I'm going to do me a good thing. I'm going to settle it for $2,000. Okay, you didn't have to pay them anything, but you took up your hard $2,000 when you broke, as you know what. You really needed that money to do something else. And you turned it over to Bank of America. December 31st, you got something in the mail called a 1099-C. Saying that you just made $8,000. on which Uncle Sam in the state is looking for you to pay tax. Again, why are you all paying when you had the legal right to pay nothing? So I don't care. I mean, you hear these debt settlements and consolidation and all this foolishness on the radio, TV. You can't run away. You can't turn on the TV and turn on the radio without hearing about them. Y'all need to understand what is in your best interest and what is in the best interest of others. And I'll tell you, Georgette is the nicest person in the world. But when faced with the choice between myself and anything else, who you think I'm going to choose? Okay. Now you're out of debt, right? And I always say to my client, getting you guys out of debt is the easy part. Having you stay out of debt is a coat of a different color. One principle that seems to work is cash. People cash still works. If you walk into the store and you can't write a check for it, hand over the cash or hand over the ATM debit card, guess what? It ain't for you. And that is with anything. Why are you borrowing? Credit is merely borrowing against your future income. You all wait for it, save for it, and then pay for it in cash. Every other client that walks into, and I'm not beating up on people who buy new cars. I don't drive new cars because for me it's an absolute waste of money. And I see things in terms of money. You know what makes me feel good? Now, many of us love to roll up in the new car smell makes us feel real good, right? You know what makes me feel good? I've had an account with Merrill Lynch since 1999. Every morning I wake up, I open up my Merrill Lynch account, and I see how much I'm saving for my future. Because when I retire, I'll retire somewhere around in my late 50s, hopefully by 60. I'll be sitting on a beach drinking copious amounts of Diet Coke. So every morning, I open up my Merrill Lynch account, and I see how I'm saving for my future. That's what makes me feel good. I'll roll up into a used car lot. I buy my cars cash. I buy them used. I drive them till they die. When I buy them, I buy the new car fresh smell. He who is free indeed. Every other client walks into my office, $500 a month car note. And that's just the car. So, we ain't talking about because y'all like to buy nice cars, so you have to buy a car that need good gas. So you have to, not only are you paying this $500 car note, but now you have to put premium gas in it, you have to put full coverage insurance on it, and there's all these other expenses with this car. In most instances, by the time you're finished, it's $800, $900, $1,000 a month for a car before you eat. $500 a month, 5 years, $30,000. And at the end of the 5 years, the car is now worth $7,000. So what have you done? Robbed your retirement. Robbed your child's 529 for their student loans. $27,000 in principal. And you all need to understand money not in terms of just the principal. Quick example. If on your 18th birthday you saved $200 a month, And you save that money consistently for 8 years. So on your 27th birthday, thereabouts, you stopped. But you never touch that principal. You leave it in an IRA, something that's moderately invested. On your 62nd birthday, you will have saved 1.1 million. Wow. That's the power of money. So, when you're all riding in that new car, paying that $500 a month for that depreciating assets, you are robbing your retirement. Feel that money coming. It's like you wound that window down and heave-hoed $23,000 in principal just so that you could ride and look fly. Now you're out of debt. How are you going to stay out? Cash still works. And it's more up here than anything else. One of my best friends, her father died, and he was born in 1918 in North Carolina. He likes to, or South Kakalaka, that's what they say. He came up north, he worked as a dish hand, he worked as a sous chef, never made more than $30,000 a year, maybe. Lived right there in the Andrew Jackson projects, raised 4 daughters with his wife. When he died, he had close to $70,000 cash in the bank. And he had $10,000 cash in the suit that he wanted to be buried in. So y'all telling me that y'all don't make enough money? I don't want to hear that. You live within your means. Better yet, you live below your means. This is my last antidote, and then I'm moving to step 3. I was a big timer. My younger sister used to say, I thought I was a baller and a shot caller. I worked, I did big deals, doing big things. They paid me real well. In 2006, they used to have the mortgage brokers in our offices because they didn't want us leaving our desks. We had people came and fed us. They took our dry cleaning. There was a gym. If I needed to shower, I could shower in the building, the whole 9 yards. In 2006, I decided I was going to buy a home. And all my colleagues were buying homes in Manhattan, condos, million plus, some even 2 million. So, never forgot, the broker came in from Citibank and said, Georgette, you qualify for a $900,000 mortgage. I said, son, put down the crack pipe. Because you are obviously on crack. There is no way on creation, I don't care how much I'm making, that I would lay in my bed at night and have an $8,700 a month mortgage. It ain't happening. I bought me a little house down in South Jersey. I used to commute back and forth. I now make 70% less than I used to make. I lost 70% of my income starting my own practice. I will still pay off my house in 10 years. But that meant I bought a smaller house. It's choices that we make. Again, I have no kids, so nobody's going to be as good to me when I'm retired like me right now. So, if you're in debt, you must get out. Period. And now that you're out, you must stay out. The third part of what I like to call living debt-free is we have to save. People, we have to have a budget and we have to save. If you are not saving anywhere from 10 to 20% of your income every month, when you get paid, you are doing something wrong. And I mean, you must have your, what I like to call, come to Jesus moment, where you see how much money is coming into coming in every month, and what are your bills. I say for a month, have a diary where every time you spend money, write it down. Every time you tap back, buy a gum, buy coffee, buy whatever, write it down. And at the end of the month, look where your money is going. And budget. How you set up your budget is simply this. 50% of your income must cover your necessaries. That's food, light, water, utilities. 50% of what's coming in has to cover that. 30% cover your wants. You may feel that it's necessary to have a cable box in every room in your house. You may feel that it's a necessity to buy the new iPhone 5, but that's a want. And the balance, you save, and you make it automatic, and you do it a little bit over a long period of time. If you're working at a job and your employer has a 401k program and you're not enrolled, why not? Worse, if they're matching your 401k, that's money you leaving on the table. Georgette, don't leave money on the table. Again, Georgette got to prepare for her 60-year-old self when Georgette's sitting on a beach doing nothing but drinking copious amounts of Diet Coke. If your employer doesn't have a 401k, get an IRA. $5,000 a year max. There's so many, they're insurance products. But there's something that someone taught me when I first came to this country. At 19, my mom was a nanny for a Jewish couple in Long Island. And I went down into the basement of the father of the little boy my mom was taking care of, and he had all these manila folders. And the name of the kid was Matthew, and it said Matthew's Investments. I was like, oh, okay, so what's that? He said, they're investments for Matthew. Matthew was the baby my mom was taking care of. And I was like, what are they? He said, stock. I said, how are you getting them? He said, you just buy them. There's something called dividend reinvestment programs, DRIPs. Dividend reinvestment programs. There's some of us that like Coca-Cola and other of us that like Pepsi. I'm a Coca-Cola person. So instead of me just handing over my money and buying Coca-Cola all the time, umpteen years ago, I gave Coca-Cola the ability to come into my checking account once a month and take $50 every month, automatically. And every quarter, most Fortune 500 companies issue dividends. Now, instead of issuing a dividends check to you, Coca-Cola then takes the dividends and buy even more stock. So now what's happening? Your money is working for you.
Yes, yes.
$50 a month. And I'm not telling you how to go out and buy, what stocks to buy, but I'll tell you how I buy stock. Every December, I decide I'm going to add some more stocks to my portfolio. And this is, I don't need Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, nobody. I just go into my closet and I see what's in there. One year I realized, oh my God, Procter and Gamble make a whole lot of stuff. Even the Crest toothpaste that I'm brushing my teeth with. I buy Coca-Cola stock, Procter and Gamble stock, $50 a month. When I first came to this country, everybody had an Air Jordan. Jordan was the thing. I've been buying Nike stock now at $50 a month for 20 years. Every quarter they issued dividends. And instead of them issuing me a dividends check for 20 years, they used that to buy even more stock. Last year I looked at my statement, and when I started buying almost 20 years ago, I think the shares were $21 a share. I looked at my statement in December, and they're $107 a share. Over 20 years. Becoming a millionaire is not that hard. It's a little bit over a long period of time. Those of you who have young children, know someone who's about to have a child, all my friends who are pregnant now, the first thing I say to them is, start saving in a 529 or and there are several insurance products that you can have. $100 a month from the day the child is born. Do it religiously. And they're like, why? I said, because if you do that religiously, in 18 years, the child is going to come to you and say, Mommy, Daddy, I want to go to college. Right? I don't believe in student loans. Them the original gangsters. So my prayer to you all is to not get into it to begin with. So if you start saving for the child from the day the child is born, $100 a month in a 529 in Vermont, anywhere that's giving you the best dividends in 18 years, you will have somewhere in the neighborhood of $170,000 to $200,000. So when they come and they say, Mommy, I want to go to school, you write checks. You ain't dealing with FAFSA, U.S. Department of Education, Salome, nobody. You write checks. And what happened, think about it. When I came out of law school, I had $95,000 in debt. Some of my colleagues, thank God I went into a good job and I had saved to defray some of my student loan expense. But I had colleagues who were coming out with zero. I had paid for my undergrad and took out loans for my grad. They had zero. No undergrad, no grad debt. What does that mean? Think about it. I came out with $95,000. So for the first 2 to 3 years of me working, my disposable income went to paying back student loans. When my colleague that graduates with no debt comes out of law school, she hits the ground running. And then we wonder why we're not offering generational wealth. Why is it that other people come here and they get ahead and we can't? It's how we look at money. I challenge any of you to go into Home Depot, Macy's, anybody. And if you see an Asian, and I have them as clients, and you see an Asian on the line, go behind them and see how they pay. Cash. How many times have I seen them where they have to call them and tell them, go over to the customer service because they're coming out to buy washing machine, dryer, this, that. Cash. I've had closings for homes where they're walking with paper bag of cash. It still works. First step, if you're in debt, you get out. Second step, now that you're out, you need to stay out. How do you stay out? Cash still works. The third is savings. We have to save. Now the fourth one, and my final point before I started taking questions. Insurance. My people, from a lack of knowledge, you will always perish. I may not be sure that this pants I'm wearing is black. Maybe some funny shade of green. But I'm sure of one thing. I will die. I will close my eyes for the last time. So why am I not prepared for it? You know you're going to die. The only one we believe rose from the dead and went back up. There ain't no raising from the dead with us. So you know you're going to die. Why aren't you prepared for it? Why is it that we have spouses? You have a 2-income household. Life happens. A spouse may get sick. A spouse may die. Now, if your spouse dies and he or she was making $50,000 a year and you're living, you have a child, you have a home, you have a family, that $50,000 a year just came out of your household for the next 10 years. That's $500,000 that's just gone. Prepare for it. If you're in an apartment, why don't we have apartment insurance? If the building burns to the ground, the landlord's going to rebuild his stuff. You ain't got nothing to get. If you own a home, why don't you have insurance for your home? If it burns to the ground, do you have the $200,000, $300,000, $500,000, $600,000 to rebuild it? No, you get insurance. Remember, your life is a business. I have 4 offices. And I have these offices that people walk in and out of. Somebody may slip and fall and sue me for $1 million. I don't have $1 million sitting down that I just want to give to somebody. But I have insurance. Your life is the same way. You got to have health insurance. You got to have life insurance. You got to have disability insurance. If you're in an apartment, renter's insurance, it's cheap. If you have a house, homeowner's insurance. Because you and I both know life always happens. Am I making sense? Yes. So, what are my 4 principles? If you're in debt, you get out, and you get out by any means necessary. Legal means. Legal means necessary. Second, now that you're out, you're going to stay out. And how you going to stay out? You ain't fooling with credit no more. Cash still works. Third, there you go. And for the things you can't save for, right? You really can't save or don't want to save to have to rebuild your house out of your pocket if it was to be burnt to the ground. For those things you don't want to save for, you insure. Now, in my book, I have it, of course, in a lot more detail, but I'm in front of you for an hour, and I just want to give it to you straight.
Hi, my name is Sheba Simpson. I'm originally from New York, but now I'm living in Helden, New Jersey.
Okay, I have an office in New Jersey.
I'm going to come see you because 2 years ago I bought a home.
Okay.
And out of necessity, more so than a desire to move at that time.
Okay.
I heard you say that you could file for foreclosure.
547, and what's going on? You don't like the house anymore? It's on the water? You don't want to have it anymore? What's going on?
When I purchased the house, I had equity.
You know you don't have any.
And now I don't have any equity.
Nobody has any.
Right. And so
Is the house unaffordable for you right now?
No, it's actually not on. I can pay all my bills with the salary that I have.
Okay.
I'm in the process of seeking a better job that I know that my income will supersede my debt.
Okay, so in terms of debt, do you have just your house, your mortgage, and credit card debts and everything else, or just the mortgage?
No, I have 4 kids.
Oh, okay. So it sounds to me that just based on the fact that you live in New Jersey and you have 4 kids, you could literally file a Chapter 7 and get rid of all the credit card debts and everything else.
I've never had a credit card.
What kind of debts you have?
I have student loan debt.
Okay.
Student loan debt. You made me shed tears when you said about buying new cars. 2 weeks ago, we bought a new car. And so now, I mean, I could still pay the car note, but now I'm like, why
Yeah.
did I do that?
Right. Because now you're jacked.
Now I'm jacked up.
Yes.
But I'm feeling like once I get this new position, then I'll be able to pay it off faster. Do you think that would be wise?
Well, the thing about it with a new car is, first of all, I never buy a new car. My car, I bought it, and if I was to buy it, if I walked into the store and bought it new, it's a 2008 A6. Had I bought that car new, the sticker price was $65,000.
Wow.
I bought it 2 years later. It was an off-state lease. Still smelled new. Didn't even have to buy the new for a new fresh sticker. And I paid before taxes $27,000. And the reason I was able to pay $27,000 was I had driven another car for like 10, 12 years. It died. So I decided I was going to be driving up and down the turnpike. I want a more comfortable car. Before that, it was a $7,000 Toyota Camry. So I said, okay, I'm going to step it up. And I walked into the dealership and I said, I'm going to buy this car. And they were like, okay, let's get out the financing. I was like, no, I'm going to buy this car and I'm going to write a check.
Right.
And they had one price and I said, no, if I write a check, what's the price?
Right. Cash always beats credit.
There you go.
Right.
So I walked out with a car that was 2 years later, smelled just like the new car. Less than half the price. Cash still, it works.
So what I need to say to you is that I need to find out where you are so I can
Yes,
make an
you
appointment.
can get one of my cards and make an appointment to meet me or one of my attorneys.
Okay, honey. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. My name is Miriam Tab. I was just curious what you thought about renting to own. When you're working on your credit, you can't necessarily qualify for.
Why can't you qualify?
I have stuff.
That you need to just. You have stuff that you need to get rid of and clean off?
Yeah.
Well, then just file a 7, clean it off, and buy a house 2.5 years later. It's a fresh start. You just walk in, all the stuff is gone.
But I'm not really at a place where I can wait 2.5 years.
Okay. But what are you going to do? You're going to try and pay it?
Well, at this point, I can pay it.
Okay.
Well, okay, at this point, I can pay it, but I don't see being able to actually purchase the house right now.
Well, if you have enough down payment for a house and you have you have no debt and you have a sizable down payment, it's not that hard to get a first-time home buyer house.
Mm-hmm.
But you may want a house. If you're buying a house and you realistically don't have 10 to 20% down for that house, you really shouldn't be buying that house.
But
Wait, because you're going to take out a mortgage for 30 years, right?
mm-hmm.
If you take out $200,000 over 30 years at 6%, at the 30 years you're going to pay $413,000. So you pay $213,000 in interest. I told you I bought my house. I bought a smaller house that I could pay off in 10 years. Because what did Georgette say? Georgette, don't give anybody her money. I work too hard for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't leave money on the table. So I bought a smaller house that I could pay off faster and pay less interest. Mm-hmm. So you need to look how much money you realistically can afford when you're talking about buying this house.
Mm-hmm.
It's only the numbers. You got to understand the numbers. And if you're buying a house for $100,000, you need to have $20,000 in the bank, or else where are you going? So maybe you're not ready to. And people come in and they say, "Oh, I want a house." Simply because you want a house don't mean you should be having one. And it's not like I'm telling you you shouldn't live the American dream. I'm telling you I'm not here to lie to you. I'm just here to tell you, understand your money and understand how much you can afford and what you can buy and live within that number. I can't tell you fairy tales. If you wanted fairy tales, Barnes and Noble, fairy tale section, non-fiction section, they'll help you right out. But I'm just going to give it to you straight.
All right. Thank you.
And the first thing is, if you have stuff, you're going to turn around and pay that. Couldn't that go towards your deposit for this house you want to buy? Just saying.
Okay, but sometimes things need to happen quicker than.
No, things don't happen until it's time for them to happen. I want to be a millionaire right here. I want to win that Powerball or whatever it is. Right here, right now. Today. But that don't mean it's going to happen.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hi, Georgette.
Yes,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I have a two-part question. My name is Brian. I'm sorry.
That's
My name
okay.
is Brian Lynch. Would it be fair that the reason why a lot of people are in debt is because of culture?
Oh,
Because you know, the reason why I said it, because I was born in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised in Crown Heights,
Mm-hmm.
predominantly West Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And when you said that you're Jamaican, I was like, wow, you know, because I would look at Caribbean people and I would look at their life. You know, I like to observe people, you know. I would look at their lifestyle, and a lot of them are not into the fancy things and the fancy clothes. And, you know, they're willing to educate themselves.
Well, we're coming from a culture where in Jamaica my father didn't have a mortgage. You bought the land, you save the money, you buy blocks, steel, and cement. You start building. And when you run out of money, you stop. And you save again. And you continue building. You put a roof, windows on. And you move in. As long as it's habitable. And you stay in there and you fit it out. Okay. Growing up, there was no such thing for me as a car loan. You wait till you have the money, you go to the bank, you get a certified check, and you go buy the car. If you can't get the certified check to buy the car, it ain't for you. And my father was an uneducated man. My father stopped going to school when he was 13. He retired at 40. So this uneducated man who didn't even have a high school diploma retired at 40. How? He understood money.
Uh-huh. I see.
When I was going to school as a child, in primary school they used to call it, we had a savings account, a little passbook. I tell this story all the time. When I was 6, my dad would drive me to school and he would say, okay, Alva, how much you have saved out of your allowance for the week to put in your savings account? And I said, Daddy, I had $1. If I had $1, he would reach into his pocket. He would give me $1. And then I would deposit it that Thursday. The following week, he would ask me, how much do you have this week? Daddy, I have $2. He would reach into his pocket and he would give me $2. And then I would deposit $4 into my account. And somewhere in my 6-year-old brain, it clicked. Wait a minute. Daddy is going to give me whatever I have. That week, once that hit, candy didn't seem so good.
Okay. Yeah.
Nothing seemed so good. I was saving every dime so that I had as much as $5. Because if I had $5, Daddy gave me $5. You got, not only do you have to understand money, but you got to teach your kids.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. Okay. Okay, my second question is that I want to go to graduate school, but I'm afraid of taking out a loan.
Well, there's several. You're an African American, you're a black male. Grants, scholarships, doing it part-time, working for it. Do whatever you can to take out the least amount of student loans if you haven't saved for it already. And if you do have to, if you do have to take out student loans, they're the last resort. They're after you scoured the internet, scoured the school, see whatever free money and grant is out there for you. And then when you take it, it's the least amount you possibly can, so that when you get out, you pay it back first. Because you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gangster. They will take your check. They will
Yeah.
take your IRS refund.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of.
And there is no everything.
Yeah, I'm on disability, so I don't make a whole lot of money, so this is like my bread and butter, and I want to try to advance myself.
Look,
but
there's certificates out there. There are 2 million technical jobs out there that cannot be filled because we don't have the skilled workers. And the skilled worker doesn't have to have a degree. They need to have a certain technical certificate. Weigh your options. I see kids coming to me. They took out $200,000 in student loans, and they have majored in basket weaving or whatever. Did you really think you were going to get a job to pay back that $200,000 in basket weaving? That's an exaggeration, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking out this money for a return. If you're going to take out the money, make sure you're going into a field where you will be able to pay it off and get a return.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. I have brief questions
Yes.
to ask. My name is Jules. One question that I wanted to ask is there a minimum that you have to owe in order to file
No,
bankruptcy?
you could do it for $1, but it wouldn't make sense for you to pay me my fee to get rid of $1.
Okay. That's one. And with student debt, I remember, I think it was last year, there was something going on where if you had been paying your student loan, that there was a forgiveness. Is that just
No,
a
no,
one-time thing?
No, how it works is if you graduate before 2012, for the federal student loans, you can means test it. You can means test it based on your income. And no more than, I believe, 20% of your gross income should go towards your student loans. And if you pay that for 20 years and you haven't paid off your federal loans, they'll forgive the rest, the unpaid portion.
Okay,
If
over
you
20.
graduated after 2012, I think that number came down to 15%, but it only applies to your federal loans. And they won't tell you that you qualify unless you ask them.
Okay, great. And I think I have one more question. You said two things. You talked about having insurance, you talked about rental insurance, and then you talked about apartment insurance. Is
I mean,
that
the same thing. Yeah,
okay,
apartment
that's all I
insurance.
wanted to know. Thank you.
Good evening, Georgette. How
Good
you doing?
evening,
My
how
name
are
is
you?
Jace. I'm great. Jay Solo. I just have one quick question, right? I didn't take out a loan, but my brother took out a loan for college,
Ooh,
and I kind of co-signed for him.
you co-sign, not kind of. It's like
I co-signed for him, and how can I just? I don't have a lot of debt, but that particular debt is just
can't get rid of it.
it's killing me.
He has to pay it, or you'll be liable.
Right. Okay.
There's no getting out.
All right.
He has to be crippled from the neck down or legally disabled. You have to be crippled from the neck down or legally disabled. And even if he dies, it's now yours.
And I couldn't be able to file bankrupt for that. Right?
Can't get rid of that. You can get
Okay.
rid of everything else, but not that. Remember? They're the albatross around your neck, the original gangsters.
All
That's
right.
why when you're going into financial aid and it feels like free money, it ain't free.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Nothing free about it.
Hi, my name is Karen. My question is, if you already have filed a Chapter 7, can you file a Chapter 7 again? And
Every 8 years.
Or every 8 years you can file a Chapter 7 without any...
No problem. You're legally, it's like your year of Jubilee. Instead of 7 years, it's every 8 years. Under the law, you're entitled to a fresh financial start.
Every 8 years.
I have clients who it's on their calendar. They don't look like you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Valerie.
Hi, Valerie.
How are you?
I'm good. What's going on?
Well, first of all, thank you for dispelling the myth.
Well, you know why? I'll tell you why. I go to bankruptcy court 2-3 times a week. And I'll be sitting in bankruptcy court, and I'm in a room as big as this, filled to capacity.
Yeah.
And there's generally 2, 3, maybe 4 of my clients that look like you.
Right,
Everybody else is in there.
right,
Most of them don't even speak English. We have to get interpreters for them.
right,
And you all who need it the most sitting on your hands.
right. And afraid to do it, and
Yeah,
afraid to even.
Fear, when you think of fear for me is an acronym for this. False evidence appearing real. Feels real,
Yeah,
looks real, but it's false.
yeah,
And credit card companies have done a really good job to scare people like you from filing and exercising your right. Why? They get what in my country they say the duck get, and it's not corn. It's in your best interest. It's not theirs. So why are they going to tell you to harm them?
well, that's what I was talking about the dispelling the myth. I'm about a year or two from retiring.
Mm-hmm. So your money is about to get funny.
Yeah, real funny.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm
you
used
may
to,
want, you may
and
want,
I-
you-
I'm used to a lot of money.
so you may want to get that in order before.
Yeah, so that's what that was my main question.
Call
but
my office.
I'm coming to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Sister Georgette Miller for this wonderful workshop. Tonight was so empowering, and in particularly for the church and the body of Christ, it is something that is long overdue. We have definitely promoted faith talk, fake it till you make it, look the part. But I thank God that today we are given the tools and we'll be able to be financially empowered, understanding we need to get out of debt by any means necessary, that we have to stay out of debt, that we have to learn how to save, how to pay ourselves, and how to have things that is over and above in terms of health insurance, renter's insurance, and things like that. What I love so much is the practical way in which Sister Miller breaks everything down, which is in her book, and we're so excited at Rivers at Rehoboth to be a part of what God is doing. There are a lot of entrepreneurs, there are a lot of creative abilities, but we believe that from what we learn and the insight that we develop on tonight, that we will have the ability to obtain wealth and to really maximize our potential and be an asset to the kingdom. Thank you so very much, and God bless.
Right, I'm really blessed by Sister Georgette Miller for that which she's done tonight. You know, we as a people of God have to understand how important that money is in our lives and how it does bring us out, it does support us, but also it can get us in trouble. And many of us, as I've experienced in the body of Christ, are in debt because we haven't been taught about saving. We haven't been taught about getting out of debt. We haven't been taught, if we've been taught about getting out of debt, we haven't been taught how to stay out of debt. And indeed, it is true that when you use credit, you borrow from your future, you borrow from that which you believe is going to happen. So it's very important that we get the lesson now. We learn to save, we learn to stay out of debt, but then also we learn to make an investment in ourselves as far as getting insurance and teaching others, you know, in regards to staying out of debt. So I'm so grateful to God for allowing us to make that divine connection with Georgette Miller on this evening and, you know, to have been a part of this seminar today.
Hi, I'm Deacon Vaughn Williams. I am the head of the finance ministry and the head of Deacon Board here at Rivers at Rehoboth. We brought in Attorney Miller today to give us a little bit more insight to kind of hit home what I've been trying to tell the church and other churches, because this is what I do. I'm a financial person. I do tax preparation. I also do the church's finances as well as bookkeeping as an independent contractor. So We appreciate Attorney Miller coming here today to spread the good news of what money can do for you. Cash is still king. You always have to pay your tithe and do the right thing and be good stewards over your finances. And that's what we preach here at Rivers at Rehoboth. We want our members to tithe, be good stewards over their finances, their health, their wealth, and everything that God has bestowed upon them. Thank you.
Adrian Cardona of Rapid Realty. Coming out to tonight's event was wonderful. I'm surrounded by people that want better for themselves. When you want better for yourself, you surround yourself around people that do. I learned a whole lot here along with Georgette and the speakers that were here. Anything that you can do, that you want to do for yourself, you take action. You know, you save for your future, you live today for the person that's 5 years from now, 10 years from now. You want to look out for that type of person.
I'm Pastor Vanessa Brown, and I am the senior pastor of Rivers at Rehoboth. The reason why I invited Attorney Georgette Miller to come in is because it is very important to me to assist our people economically. What I mean by that is that I pastor in an urban neighborhood, and when you pastor in an urban neighborhood, you see the oppression on the faces of the people because of that. And because of some of the things that they've gotten their own selves into. So I feel like this is a way to empower the people. I feel like sometimes things are not just spiritual, but we have to deal with the natural order of things. And it is very important for me, for our church to reach its fullest potential. And I know that debt cancellation and being debt-free is one of those ways.